Not that long ago, a corpse was checked in by TSA, patted down, and then allowed to fly. And honestly, that was one of the prouder moments of our transportation security system. Because we here in the US are fighting invasion of privacy and destruction of our First Amendment rights in about 900 different ways every single day, most of us have stopped talking about how insane and offensive airport security still is. So consider this segment your friendly reminder of how insane and offensive airport security still is. I'll get back to the flying corpse in a second, but to begin with, allow me to disabuse you of the notion that airport security stops terror attacks in any way. As The Verge reported recently, the reality is that TSA has played next to no role in the biggest counterterrorism stories of the past 2 decades. And according to the think tank RAND, intelligence and security services managed to foil nearly 2/3 of the terrorist plots in the planning stages. Of course, US law enforcement also helped create almost all of the terror attacks they thwart. Back in 2013, a review of planned terror attacks found that only 1% of terrorists caught by the FBI are real. The vast majority, over 90%, are people either pushed by or helped by the FBI. Side note, if the FBI are involved in over 90% of planned terror attacks, doesn't that make them the most active terrorist group in America? Like, no one else even comes close to that. They're like the Rafa Nadal of terrorism. Anyway, not only is almost all terrorism planning stopped before it gets to an airport, and there's not much to begin with, but on top of that, the main thing that stops another 9/11 from ever happening is strong, locked cockpit doors. Not some underpaid TSA douche flicking your balls to make sure they're real. Do you hear that? It's like a ringing, like a light ring. I don't think they're supposed to do that. Is it? Are they supposed to do that? One time, I legit had a TSA pat down where the agent insisted my ribs were not supposed to be there. I don't know what to tell you, man. They're my ribs. You want to take a core sample? I have a flight to catch. Yet we have spent billions and given away all our rights on this breathtakingly stupid system. Actuaries measure the cost effectiveness of an intervention with a metric called cost per life saved. This calculation tries to capture the total societal net resources spent in order to save 1 year of life. For example, the nerds in the nerdery have found that seatbelt laws have cost $138 per year of life saved, which is a pretty goddamn good ratio. I mean, I'm willing to pay that to save a life. On the other hand, the most generous estimates of the cost effectiveness of the TSA's airport security screening put the cost per life saved at around $15 million. I am not willing to pay that. Sorry, I don't know you. You might be an asshole. You might be the person who shows up to a party with a 6-pack of Bud Light and then drinks all the scotch someone else brought. Dude, you can't level up from piss to whiskey. Not worth $15 million to me. I'm sorry. In fact, you're pushing the 138 for the seatbelt law. But it gets worse. That 15 million number assumes airport security is 100% responsible for stopping all terror attacks, which we know is very not true. So when you take that into account, less optimistic assessments place the number at $667 million per life saved. That's fucking batshit, especially considering we here in the US, we don't actually give a crap about each other. I mean, we could save millions of lives by having universal health care or universal basic income or simply banning Taco Bell's Taco Tango pork and mystery meat milkshake. But we don't do it because we don't care. We don't care. To put it a little more bluntly, empirically, we know that the TSA does little to stop massive terror plots or even the occasional airport shooting. I mean, they could save way more lives if while cupping your balls, they were screening for a lump instead of a gun. Since its inception 20 years ago, there have been many articles, studies, and investigations about the existential meaninglessness of the TSA. The Atlantic wrote in 2015, the TSA doesn't work and never has. ABC News found an internal investigation of the TSA revealed security failures at dozens of the nation's busiest airports, where undercover investigators were able to smuggle mock explosives or banned weapons through checkpoints in 95% of trials. In 2013, the Government Accountability Office, so our own government, found that a nearly $900 million screening program didn't work. Not only does it not work, it's not even clear it needs to work. For the most part, that TSA finger in your ass is solving a non-existent problem. Vox wrote, the TSA is hard to evaluate largely because it's attempting to solve a non-problem, despite some very notable cases. Airplane hijackings and bombings are quite rare. And if no one tries to do a liquid-based attack, then we don't know if the 3-ounce liquid rule prevents such attacks. Are you starting to get the point? How many different ways can I say the TSA sucks, it's meaningless, and it's an assault on our rights? Here, let me try one more time. Security expert Bruce Schneier noted that there's basically zero evidence the agency has prevented any attacks. The TSA claims it won't provide examples of such cases due to national security, but given its history of bragging about lesser successes, that's a little tough to believe. So we have a multi-billion-dollar program that doesn't actually seem to keep any of us safer, but on top of that, how do I put this lightly? It sexually assaults us? In 2017, TSA's new pat-downs were so invasive, airports were preemptively warning cops to expect sexual assault claims. They instituted rules that they knew were going to have plenty of passengers going, I think that guy just grabbed my hole. And no dinner first, no candlelit poetry reading. I think he just stole second or third or whatever. And the TSA, in preparation for this insanity, called police departments to warn them. Hey, how you doing? So we're going to be assaulting some folks down at the airfield. You don't need to pay it no mind. You know, if you get some phone calls or the like, some letters, some postcards saying somebody being sexually abused, you just, I mean, we did assault them, but it was intentional. No, not consensual, just intentional. Yeah, intentional. So don't worry your blessed little heart, all right? You just go ahead about your day. Oh, and did I mention the TSA is racist too? Of course it is. A 2019 Government Accountability Office study found that transportation security officers were responsible for more than 1,000 incidents of potential discrimination and unprofessional conduct that involved race over a 2-year period. Sure, it's a small proportion of the more than 800 million travelers screened every year, but not every incident gets reported. Yeah. In fact, only a tiny percentage of people who are discriminated against or treated poorly take the time out of their life to report it to the government because, for some reason, most people believe reporting it won't change anything. And of course it won't. The government don't care about being racist and humiliating trans people and disabled people and non-white people, grabbing the crotches of every third person. It's all a sign of control, and it's all in a good day's work. I, for one, find it a little, odd that in the era of Me Too and Black Lives Matter, there's a government agency whose job is to be racist serial sexual assaulters. That's their job. Oh wait, I guess that's most government agencies. Yeah, I'd say most. Department of Agriculture, maybe not, maybe. And on top of all of this crap, the TSA also just has moments where they're fucking bizarre, such as the time this year a family wheeled a corpse through the airport and the TSA patted it down and then cleared it to fly. The deceased had already checked in for the flight before she died, so she had a boarding pass. And U.S. law obligates airlines to accommodate their ticketed and checked-in passengers, even if they have a physical or mental impairment that, on a permanent or temporary basis, substantially limits one or more major life activities. Yeah, I'm gonna go more. I'm gonna go more than one life activity with limited. In fact, all all of the life activities were substantially limited, especially her ping pong game. Her ping pong game was way off. So even if you're dead, you can't get out of being molested by airport security. But you can if you're rich. If you pay for the expedited process or you hire a private jet, then there are essentially no TSA requirements. At the end of the day, it's not that the government doesn't realize the TSA is nearly meaningless. As written in The Atlantic, it's that the TSA is in the business of security theater, not security. Security theater. Pretending they're protecting us from the boogeyman, pretending that daddy government is there to save us, even though the number one thing that daddy government could do to actually save us is give us health care and higher wages and guaranteed housing. You know, all of the things that are required for a comfortable and happy life. But no, none of that. Just a finger where the sun don't shine. That's your most censored news for this week. Please share this with folks, leave a comment, and if you want to support this show, then support Mint Press, support Behind the Headlines. We are completely independent. We are funded by no one but you. So please help this show keep going and keep fighting.